It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Welcome back to Go Fund This, the podcast where you find out about the coolest crowdfunding campaigns out there that you definitely want to know about. I'm your host, Rob Southgate, and today I'm joined by Jon Levin from First Games to talk about the Kickstarter for the board game Ins and Outcasts. I know you're going to love this project. It's so fantastic. Here's Jon. Jon, welcome to Go Fund This. Today we have something, I think actually this is the first time we've had a tabletop board game. We've had lots of other stuff, but you're the first tabletop board game we've had, and I'm really excited to talk to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So my guest today is Jon Levin, and he's got the game Ins and Outcasts. Let's get a little business out there up front before we start talking to you, Jon. The goal is $5,000. As of the recording right now, we're a little over halfway, 2,591. There's 14 days to go. So lots of time to make this happen. You are right on course, which is awesome. In fact, my personal goal goes a lot higher than that. And we'll get to that as we go on. So Jon, I also put this all in the show notes. So they can go to Kickstarter and type in Ins and Outcasts, or they could just click on the show notes and bam, they're there, they're pledging, they're telling their friends about it. Okay, Jon,
yes,
why don't you tell people who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Jon Levin. I'm from a northern suburb of Chicago. I was a student without much trajectory till I was about 24. I went home and played nurse instead of finishing school for a family member for 10 years. While I was there, I was looking for projects to really get interested in, and I started reading some old comics, and I read a book by Peter Gillis from the 80s called Shatter, which is famous for being the first comic ever done with digital art. And we built a video game Bible that we are currently pitching around to some companies. And it's awesome. And then from there, as that was wrapping up, the boys had just released, and Preacher was coming off a successful run. And I was sort of thinking about making a board game for them because I knew some of the people over there. And after the boys' success, I dropped Preacher and jumped onto the boys and busted up a prototype because I knew they were going to be at New York Comic Con. And me and my two partners brought it to them. So it was like September of 2017 or 18 and or 19 and just pitched it to them at the con, and they took our game for the boys. And so that's been really successful. We've sold, somewhere around 5,000 to 8,000 units. That's been great. And so from there, we were getting solicited by, really talented developers who would, for one reason or another, wanted our help. Like we've got one guy who's just a school teacher that doesn't have time to do the back end of designing the game. He just wants to make the games. We've got another guy who's all in with us and wants to be with us, seems like, from the company from the beginning. And he's this wonderful 25-year-old kid that just got his release from the military. He just finished. And so he's that kid's making games every day. And then there's also
fantastic.
There's also this other company, Game Changing Designs is their company name, and it's run by a couple, husband and wife named Andy and Jen. Jen is the artist. The art on it we think is just adorable. And she is very talented. She's also done some art for us on other stuff. And Andy is one of those rare breed that actually went to college for making games. And board games. And so he went to Milton Bradley University. And 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 so he's got that wealth of knowledge that's very unique out here, where everybody that you normally meet, they're just talking and and he's got terms and definitions and like
Right.
all that stuff. It's it's refreshing. Anyway, so he built this wonderful game called Ins and Outcasts, and they tried funding it during COVID. And they were very independent. They hadn't had success like we had with the first game, and I think their overhead prices were too high, and a couple of other factors, but they weren't quite able to reach funding, so they pulled it before it finished, and then they brought it to us and asked us what we thought. And so we made some very significant design changes. The core game is still the same. It's but we are releasing it with twice as much content for the same price. And the art really showcases now. We made much larger size cards with oversizing the art on the page and taking off some of the flavor text that doesn't showcase the art.
Yeah, I have to say, you're stressing the art with good reason. Anyone that goes to the Kickstarter and looks at this, when you start looking at the art is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It really draws you in. It's really fun. I mean, it looks from the outside like a really fun game. And that's key right there, because I know from talking to you, you said it is a really fun game, but it looks like one. It looks like one that, like, man, I would pick this up because it looks cool, looks like a good time, looks like a good one that my friends would like, and it's got that art thing. It's kind of like some of the card games out there, like Exploding Kittens. When you look at the artwork, you're like, this. It doesn't look like that artwork, but that artwork draws you right in, and it makes you buy it. This has that same kind of flavor. I look at it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Now, as far as the game itself, what's the age range on it? Is it all ages? Do you have a mark on that?
We do have it as an all age, 10 and up, sort of, just because of the complicated board game mechanics.
Sure.
Under 10 usually can't strategize if they haven't had familiarity. The awesomest thing about this game, as far as how it's built, is it's a 30 to 45 minute game, and it goes 3 to 8 players. And there's just not 8-player, games where you're really playing a game. You can play 8-player games and, toss blocks and build structures real quick and goes and done. But this is a game where you're thinking and playing and bluffing and, and it goes through turns and rounds, and it still goes so quick that you're done in 45 minutes, which is just unheard of. And with the variety of the ends, you've also got that replayability. So I've been starting to, I've been telling family and friends, this is a good game for your family. You got 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids who are possibly interested in board games. This will be a great introduction.
Hi there, I'm Rob Southgate and host of this show. This is the trailer for TTRPG Insider, a podcast about, you guessed it, tabletop role-playing games. Actually, it's more specifically about the amazing people that create TTRPGs. Each episode, I'll interview someone who is involved in making the games that we all love to play. You'll hear from world builders, artists, musicians, writers, marketers, people that run the Discord, and really just anyone involved behind the scenes. And this isn't just a promo show talking about how great their games are. I want to hear their stories. How they got to where they are. What's their history with gaming? Any tips they can give, and hopefully some fun stories about their lives. So, let's make this official. Welcome to the TTRPG Insider Podcast. TTRPG Insider is a celebration of an industry that I love. I started this show so I would have a chance to talk with the people that you might meet at a convention if you're lucky enough. So grab your dice, throw on some headphones, and come with me on this journey. Oh yeah, make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts to hear our first episode when it drops this week. Well, and I love that it's, you're basically splitting up loot from your adventures. So it's a great entry point also for people that want to maybe get into tabletop. They want to get their kids into it. This is a great entry point, So yeah, I'm all in on this thing. Okay, let's talk about. We really only have one tier that matters at this point. What tier can people come in at?
So we're in this situation. We were just firmly believer in what the content was. And we didn't really want to fluff it up or try to sell you something different. This is a project that we want to be able to believe in for many, many years. That expands every year with a whole new win or whatnot. And so the focus was allowing people to go on the Kickstarter and try the game. The game is available for free to play on Tabletop Simulator, and you just got to click a link on the Kickstarter page because, again, we firmly believe in try before you buy. And that being said, we had some fun design things like the artist will draw you a custom card and everything, and you can play with yourself in the game. We've got a goblin plushie. We've got some cool concepts for hoard chests to put in your middles to hold all of the loot. But all of those ideas we're thinking we're saving for the first expansion.
Yeah, for the expansion. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And those would make some really great tiers. Things, as soon as you get into that customization thing, people go crazy. But you're really just saying at this point, hey, get the game. It's ready to go. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Try the game. $30. That's a great price point for the quantity and content that you're getting. We just think it sells itself. We didn't want to try to gussy it up and get a whole bunch of people interested because they love the artwork only and they just really want the pins and the t-shirts and the goblins. Right. That's great, and we'll be back for you next time around. But right this time, we really just wanted to focus on the quality of this game and getting people interested and a part of the camp because they like playing the game.
So that's interesting. I think that. That actually makes the goal interesting for people. They want to get in here and support this because now there is an expansion they're working on and all these cool things will come, but we got to get there by funding this game. That's really what we need. We need to get this Kickstarter successful. So you've got marching orders, people listening. They're the same marching orders I give every time. Get in there, go to Kickstarter, look at Ins and Outcasts. You want to pledge. If you're like, well, $30 is a little tight right now, but it sounds cool, and share it on your social media. Tell your friends about it. Maybe you can't get the game, but maybe mom can get it and you can, go play it at her house, but you want to share it with your friends. Because I know when I saw this, I saw Jon in person and I thought this whole thing looked super cool. He was showing me the tear sheet. I'm like, wow, this is great. Other people are going to react that way. They're going to have that same kind of feel where they're going to want to jump in on this thing. And the goal is not outrageous. I mean, we've been dealing with these $100,000 goals. This is $5,000. You can get there. You can help him out by sharing it and by pledging the $30. You end up with a pretty killer looking game that would look really good on the shelf. Plus, even though he's downplaying the artwork as far as the marketing on this, the artwork's so cool. It's going to look really cool. People are going to want to play it just based on that.
And I appreciate all that. And I want to say that you mentioned, this is a big TTRPG crowd. And one of the ways that we found that this game works, as it has actually been developed for 3 years, is people actually put it right into their campaign. And they have their adventurers coming back from a successful campaign and they go to the town,
split up the loot,
go to the bar or the inn, and they're sitting there with the loot. And everybody's like, but I want that and that and that. I don't want to share. Pull out this game.
I'm so glad you said that, Jon, because when I was reading the description, the very first thing I thought, because I've worked with all these other TTRPGs, and I'm like, yeah, at the end of a thing, you're going back to the tavern and you split the loop. And a lot of times you just go, you know what, just make it, there's 4 of us, make it quarters. But how fun is it to actually have to play a game to make that happen? I love it. I love it. This is a great augmentation to your D&D campaign or your Pathfinder game or whatever campaign you're doing out there to split up that loot. It's very cool. Jon, where can people find you and interact with you?
So we have some social pages. One First FIRST Games GAMES. You can find us at those hashtags in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And my partner in Seattle, Josh, he's much more the front face of all of our social and companies, so you might not recognize, but that's Josh, and he's my partner, and he is as good as anyone I've found, and inside and upstairs, he's a real good guy, he's real smart. and he's very enthusiastic about this. And he actually started an education coalition with our board game company. He's actually trying to get more board games into classrooms. Just
I love it.
Yeah, because we had quite a few lengthy discussions about, the way the kids are growing up and how we grow up and the way that they act when they lose to like Fortnite and the way that we lost when we lost games. And it's just like, it's too much stimulation and they're not getting any of the development before the overhead stimulation. And it's
right.
So we've got about 50 or 60 companies. We actually just met with Exploding Kittens the other day. And they really like what we're doing because they're a small team. It doesn't matter how many copies they sell, but they're such a small team. They can't call every school and every library and every district and say, hey, do you know of our game? Well, would you like a couple copies? Yeah, they just don't have. So with us doing this, we can take really, really good products like that, and we can really maybe sort of start helping to rebuild some of the infrastructure of the way kids are, kids have always been learning because board games are just really, really good for social skills, humility skills, confidence, and then, of course, problem solving and strategizing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Critical thinking, all of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right. All right. So, Jon, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with this. Everybody has their marching orders. They want to get in there and support this. It's Ins and Outcasts. Jon, I keep interrupting you when you're trying to say thank you, but thank you.
Cheers. I really appreciate it. No, it's a great game. I promise you'll love the game. Again, try it out before you buy it. It's a rare breed, that 45-minute 8-player game. And it's going to have replayability because if you play this version to death, by next year we'll have a couple more ins for you, and it's going to change up the whole thing.
Cool, man. Cool. All right. Thank you, Jon.
Really appreciate it.
The Kickstarter campaign for Ins and Outcasts ends on July 20th. Don't wait till the last minute. Pledge today and get your own copy of this awesome game. Thanks again, Jon, for coming on the show and sharing your Kickstarter with us. If you or anybody you know has a crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way. I love to share cool projects and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the Go Fund This Podcast Facebook page or via email directly to rob@smgpods.com. You can find a link to this Kickstarter and any links we discussed in the show notes. Please rate and review Go Fund This wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps other people find this show and help spread the word about these amazing crowdfunding projects. Go Fund This is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to Go Fund This.